Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Q2 Growth Summit. I'm Suzanne Carowin. I'm the AVP of Membership and Marketing, and I'm going to be joined today by a couple of speakers. We're going to talk about what we've done this quarter, where we're going, challenges we're having, and how we're going to do this together. So on the docket today is to make sure that we really review. We're not really going to ever look too much backwards. That's a big thing about growth, is we're not going to spend too much time looking about, what happened in Q1. Q1's done. We're really going to focus in on what did we do in Q2, remembering that the homework for everyone was to actually do, the take home was to get to know the new programs that we have. And the second piece was to choose agency presentations per state, one per local. And that's the only backdrop I'm going to do about between last Growth Summit and today. We'll do some numbers and whatnot. And today we're really going to focus in on the main part is saying, we're going to say what we've gotten done thus far in Q2. We're going to spend the most time talking about challenges, because this is where we need to bond together and come up with solutions. And then we're going to move over and talk about Q3 and the opportunities as we plan Q3 and what that affords us. So it's power-packed, to say the least. We've got, like I said, a couple of guest speakers here we're delighted to have. So again, just to frame up, and this is, again, real quick, frame up one more time, because we're mid-year. We are on June, second week of June of 2019, which means we're 6 months in to the new NAIFA. Okay, so January 1st, 2019, just to refresh everybody's memory about what this meant, we went into a brand new NAIFA, new bylaws. We went from a bottom-up organization to a top-down. And what we're doing is really trying to build this new nation and how we all work together, and that's the work at hand. And so that's why it's so imperative that we have this growth team. And again, thank you for joining and caring about this great association. In doing that on January 1st, what it did is it really afforded us a new opportunity to look at membership. And if you are a state, of which I think we've hit about 42 of them, we have been going door to door, and either you've heard from myself, Michelle Grassley-Clark, and Dennis Cuccinelli, our board of trustee, in charge of membership, or some combination therein. We have been giving the same presentation again and again to make sure we are leaving no stone unturned, and we are really understanding what we're trying to do here in building this new One NAIFA. We have a huge task at hand. The membership mission that we've been given is to basically come up with a strategy to build an entirely new generation of not only NAIFA members that will stay and be loyal, so not high churn, but people that are going to be here, the next generation are going to be here 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, et cetera. But of that, how do we also cull together those people and identify them and cultivate them, of those people who are going to be the next generation of you, the next generation of leaders, the real thought, the real playmakers, if you will, in the NAIFA, in our NAIFA world. In doing that, maintain the congressional footprint and increase it, because as we talked about last time, some of our congressional districts are a little bit in the endangered species category, and we need to figure out how to bring new people in and shore that up so we never have to change our message that we have a member in every congressional district. Last piece there is we have to just do small things like turn NAIFA into being, again, a grassroots army, build on that, but also bring in that thought leadership angle in the industry, where we really say definitively, we are the thought leaders for this entire financial services industry that we span, inclusive of all of these different fractured aspects of it. And then how do we take that and make that into a stronghold where NAIFA is really looked to say they're the cutting edge of not only the field force of agents and advisors, but also they have a part to play in the industry as a whole. And so with those small things to do as a membership mission, we've been going door to door and talking to everyone about how we have put together the membership plan, what the components are, and how you should really run the plays there, and it's the new playbook. That's going to come in addition to the chapter playbook that the Michelle Grassley-Clark and team is putting together, so not to be confused by that. So what I thought I'd do to kind of give, again, a visual of where we're trying to go with this is giving a different, reframing the perspective. So most of you who are on the phone today or online with us, you're thinking about your particular either local or your particular state And we need to all think in the same format. So we need to all think national, state, local, state, national, and how all these things tie together. So instead of just talking about it, I thought I'd visually show you how we think about it and how we want the whole frame of reference to be about what does one NAIFA mean. So let me give you an example of here how all of these programs we've been talking about since probably last September, and we've been rolling out new program after new program, Advisor Ambassador, we had Professional Pathway, we had the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center, we have the LACP, we have the Advanced Practice Center, we have NAIFA Live. We are just inundating everyone with new programs. But they're not, and then we have P+P, and we've got Lilly, and we've got YAT. How does all of this come together? And it all comes together if we looked at the United States, right, as this blank canvas, and we stop thinking for a second, step out, stop thinking about your particular local, your particular chapter, step out and just look at it as a whole, because we need to understand how we all fit in and how we're going to work together. So we're looking at this blank canvas, the United States, and we start saying, look, if we've got, let's look at the programs we have, let's look at the partnerships we have, let's look at the products we have. Doesn't it make sense that we start doing product and program placement? And what we do is we place those in areas of the United States that are hotspots for those particular, for the uptick in consumption of that particular product, program, service, et cetera. So instead of doing a blast email to everyone hoping that this is going to take place, which we've been doing for 25 years and it hasn't really been working, why not get really targeted, and why don't we look collectively and use all of our combined intelligence to say, where do we put the right product or program into the right place that's going to have the most success? We're going to get the greatest top line growth. We have developed these programs and products, but only you can work with us to tell us this is really going to be, hey, if we could put this product into our area, we're going to get a combined benefit that, again, is going to work for both of us, okay? So that's how we're thinking, okay? So we're thinking about, we're all a channel, we've got products, programs, and services, we've got corporate partnerships. How do we strategically deploy these onto the map so we get the greatest bang for the buck? So let's go through an exercise. Let's take one of our corporate partnerships, and you're going to hear about a couple of these later, but let's take Mutual of Omaha, just my working example. So we have a corporate partnership relation with Mutual of Omaha. We have kind of a signed agreement. We have a preferred rate. We have one of our board of trustees, Brian Wilson, is a huge proponent for NAIFA. We've done webinars to Mutual of Omaha, agents, et cetera. We have all of this, what I'm going to call air cover, right? Then we've come in and we've had, and John Spear will talk about this in a second, we've talked about where we've called into Mutual of Omaha, and then we have, okay, now where can we actually go in and do agency presentations? If we know where the hot spots are in the area, look what we can do. We can say we've got all that, and we say, where do we do placement of Mutual of Omaha? How do we create hotspot, real pockets, really penetrate certain states to do placement? We start then placing Mutual of Omaha around the country. We can then say, with a really targeted, concerted effort, here's where we can do growth. Not just a sporadic, throw spaghetti on the wall and hope it sticks, but really saying strategically, if we do strategic placement and we understand our areas, which only you guys know at the chapter and local level, where we can have those strongholds, we can put together a map that really benefits all of us. So that's like a Mutual of Omaha corporate partner relationship. What about for Nationwide? So I'm going to use Nationwide as an example a couple of times throughout our talk today. So Nationwide is a founding sponsor of the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center. That is something that, again, we have Nationwide's logo all over that. But guess what else? If we take that idea and we say they're a founding sponsor at the NAIFA national level, that also means they're a sponsor to you at the state and local. So now we start saying, hey, guess what? Every state, you get to inherit Nationwide. You can put it on your collateral, you can put it onto your programs, and again, specifically to Limited Extended Care Planning Center. But you have that as much more leverage, a new talking point to talk to other people about at your state and local, and we can do that placement. We can turn around that and go back to Nationwide and say, not only do you have national placement and coverage, not only will you have a booth at Performance Plus Purpose, not only will we be included in the webinars and content that we're doing for Limited and Extended Care Planning Center, but you also have the ability to go into 50 chapters and 40 locals automatically. Is that a good spend of money nationwide? How do we expand our relationship? How do we further the growth within your organization? Makes sense. Another one on the limited and extended care planning side, we have the certification for long-term care, CLTC. Now the CLTC is a certification that many people in the long-term care industry have. Some of our members have it. Some of them are practicing within that. But more of the people that have a CLTC certification are not NAIFA members than are. So CLTC for us becomes a strategic play with our partner to be able to say, what can we do? Now let me tell you about our partners, the partner standpoint. CLTC is an organization. They have been going door to door to every one of our states, every one of our locals to try to set up a CLTC, basically class with the exam. You can get it all done in about a day and a half. So they have been sitting there struggling, trying to get volunteers to call them back, trying to get a state chapter executive to call them back, and going through, at that time it was probably 600 entities. Now we're down to, great, they're like, super, you're down to 90. It's still 90 entities. That's a lot of work for our partner. Wouldn't it make more sense if we could say to our partner, hey, why don't we just start placing you throughout the country? And every time there's an annual meeting, just saying, for one of the states, you could tack on a CLTC certification class, and that's a rev share for all of us, right? So that's something that we can do to really affect top line growth, make our partner happy, make us happy, and help to move the industry forward for more people being certified in long-term care. What about NAIFA Live? We came out with NAIFA Live in January. We've done, we're on to month 6, which is happening in next week. NAIFA Live came on board, and we said this was to fill the void of having these monthly meetings that so many people, either the local was no longer there, or we need to move to a changing consumer who needs a different way to interact with us and maybe doesn't want to go to a country club, which maybe is not diverse and inclusive, which maybe is just too far away, which maybe they can't spend half a day. For whatever reason it is, why don't we have more programs that are monthly meeting format, blend together great content, so we're at the QME standards, and also allows us to bring in new members, right? So people to taste test NAIFA. So we came up with NAIFA Live, and we've been running it. So we can now place NAIFA Live again throughout the country. We'll talk about that later. Your state, your local can start being part of this watch parties. We can start building this out, creating demand, having more people interact with NAIFA and get to know us, which increases our probability of conversion to membership. What it also does is allow us to say to people sponsoring NAIFA Live, hey, we can give you a national audience that's thousands of viewers. That puts NAIFA in a whole different bucket. So again, instead of each state, each local trying to, go out and conquer on their own, collectively, if we do that and we say to a nationwide, hey, you're looking for product placement on your new long-term care mobile app, why don't we put you as a sponsor on NAIFA Live, and boom, we've got thousands of people across the entire country who are watching you, interacting with it, etc. Wouldn't that make sense that we can do together? Programs like YAT. Certain of our states have YAT programs, certain of them have YAT Leader of the Year awards, but it's not consistent. If we say this is a national program and here's what we mean to make sure that every chapter and local has, wouldn't that make sense that we're developing our next generation in the same way, time and time again? So how do we standardize these things? How do we standardize, again, lead generation? If every one of our states and locals on their website was talking about the Advisor Ambassador Program, which we launched last October, if we had all of those things in place, wouldn't that make sense? Right? And then lastly, taking some of our partnerships like Females in Finance, we'll talk about in a second, NIA, our LIA, and our WIFS, these sister associations, wouldn't it make sense that we as a whole, national, state, and local, are able to leverage these as well? So when we have a new program, the next NAIFA Live with Bob Cohen on June 20th, let's just say, we could be able to go ahead and in enough time tell them, everyone is invited because you're part of the sister association, please push it out to your channels. That creates, this whole process is going to allow us to grow because we're creating a groundswell effect. And really what it is, it's all of the different pieces doing the same work in a consistent method in the same time period, right? It's like the many hands lighten the load and make the task at hand easy. That's exactly what we're trying to do, and just to shore it up. So we need to, just to give you a frame of reference about stepping back and saying, how do we all work together? And then there's other pieces within it. We could all bond together as 4 states and have a regional meeting. I mean, there's all sorts of combinations we could do. Once we start thinking of this as this one NAIFA and how we're going to really take these programs and push them out strategically along the way. Okay, so we're going to move on from that. The next thing we're going to move to is talking about successes. And again, in my household, we live by 2 things, which is what do we do right? What can we improve? It's not really mine. It's Urban Meyer's above the line, but that's what I'm in Columbus, Ohio. So we use that, right? Along with no BCD, no blame, complain, no deny. So we're going to talk about what we did right in Q2, and we still have a couple of weeks in Q2, so there's still time. So we're going to start off, and I'm going to pass it over to Dennis Cuccinelli, and he's going to talk about some of the new work that we've done that culminated at Congressional Conference.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, all. So let's talk about what we've done at Congressional Conference. Let's talk about Advocate. NAIFA makes a membership promise. Advocate, educate, differentiate. In the second quarter, we had the most successful Congressional Conference ever. We got down to Washington, D.C. We delivered the message. Congress heard us, and the Secure Act was approved. Wonderful. Great work by roughly 650 members. Educate. You're going to hear a little bit more later on about our education. A new Level Up program that's going to take NAIFA into a new space. That space being, we can take a producer from their first day in the business until they're a senior advisor and provide them education. No other association operating in our space can make that claim, and we're soon going to have that rolled out. Differentiate. We have a new Take 3 video with Kevin Mayhew, and we rolled out the power of the pin. It's a symbol of that. We educate for our clients, we educate ourselves to better serve our clients, and we differentiate ourselves from rank and file producers. So the membership promise presentation. So let's go over some of the numbers. Many of you heard that we rolled out this presentation in the past. I've been working it with NAIFA for a couple of years now. We've defined it, re-engineered it. We attached a very simple slide presentation to it, and it's working. New Orleans, 12 people or non-members sitting in a room, 7 joined. Philadelphia, 25 people sitting in a room, non-members, 12 to 15 joined. New Jersey, roughly 100 people in a room were non-members, 18 joined. These are 12-minute presentations. If you're drunk, it takes you about 45 minutes to learn it. If you're sober, about a half hour. It's simple, it's easy. It's a program that anyone can use. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle. Suzanne.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. All right, so again, all of those materials are available now. They're at solutions.naifa.org/growth kit. It's off the leadership page. If you're a leader, you'll see it again and again, and they're out there to be used. So another thing we did at Congressional Conference, you might notice this glorious banner behind me. We made this up because one of the things that we did, just to reiterate, around about March is we had this Main Street USA study, which says definitively that our members serve Main Street USA, the vast majority of them. And so we started actually using hashtag Main Street USA in our social media, and that again culminated, we'll continue to do that, and that culminated at Congressional Conference because we had this banner, we brought it with us, and we asked our members, we pulled them in and said, hi, can you go ahead and do this really short clip talking about yourself? So this is we've always made videos. We have a highly talented team to do that. This is one where we did them a little bit more raw. And again, we gave them sort of a script, and it was really interesting to see how people went off script. But the main message, and again, I say this because you can continue to use this model in your states and locals, and please do so. Run contests with it. Tag us. We'll pull it up to the national level. But this idea of being able to say to an actual individual agent and advisor. Hi, I'm so-and-so. My Main Street USA is, X, Y, and Z. I'm here, wherever, you could be at your event. I'm here at the annual meeting. I'm here at our legislative day. I'm here at this get together because I believe in X, Y, and Z. I protect my clients. I am Main Street USA. I care about the financial security for all. So we have a couple of little key phrases in that script to plug in. The importance of that now in today's world of social media and video is that, I call it the Kim Kardashian effect. It's that everyone, if you're going to be someone, you're out there in some format, whether you're out there on the speaking circuit, you've got your set of CDs that you're peddling, you're out there, but really people are moving to being on social media, video, camera of some effect, etc., right? Having their own podcast show. A lot of our people are starting into some sort of TV show, etc. So the more that we can, again, move our members into a position of authority, spotlight them, it helps us differentiate, and it helps, again, to give a face to this idea. One of the things that we've wrapped up in Q2 is our new brand strategy. We rolled that out at Congressional Conference of Leadership. We're in the build mode now of the actual assets. But when doing that, one of the big things the brand agency said to us is we've been speaking in this very clinical, non-emotional way to say, we are the trusted advisor who protects financial security for all. And it's this very distant piece of it. And we're moving to a much more one-to-one kind of communication strategy, which talks about overcome uncertainty, right? And so as an advisor that's new to the field or advisor that's been in the field, I also need a colleague who's another advisor to help me take uncertainty out of my own practice. I need my clients to believe in me, so I take uncertainty out of their risk, et cetera. And we need to put a face to the name is where I'm going with that. So new technologies that we use like Zoom with our partnership, it allows us to go face-to-face like we're doing right now, and you get to know the person, right? That's much better than a brochure, a website, et cetera, to see someone interacting, get a feel for them, understand them, be able to see them in real life. So these videos, if you haven't seen them, they're at www.advisorsyoucantrust.org, and it's under who we are. And guess what? Once we've gathered these together, we just continually roll them out in the Main Street USA blog. We put them on social media. We put money behind them. We might promote them. And again, it allows us to do a whole different way of being able to promote a trusted advisor, which only a NAIFA member can be. So to that, we're going to take that idea and we're going to continue it as we're starting to do with all of our pieces and just continue to make it bigger and better. So as we roll into Performance Plus Purpose in September, one of the things you're going to see if you go is that there will be a whole opportunity to be able to really build out your own video, your own headshot, get some social media training, and we're going to bundle all of these things into the updated Advisor You Can Trust directory. So when someone goes to find you, wouldn't it be great that they not only see your picture, your location, but you get an opportunity to talk directly to them about why they should choose you. Okay, so always looking for opportunities there of what we can do. Okay, all right, so a couple other things of successes on Q2. I mentioned previously we rolled out NAIFA Live in January with our kind of our core states, which was a big props out to North Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, and Minnesota. We did more than test pilot, and we'd say it was a home run success. And where we are now with this, we're in month 6. We've got Bob Cohen on the docket for June 20th, and we have a calendar built out for the rest of the year for speakers. But what we really need to do is look at, again, how do we amplify? So we need all of our states and locals raising their hand to say, we want to be a watch party location. We want to get involved. It's a very low-tech commitment, but a very high-touch opportunity. So if you're not familiar about how to become a watch party location, and it doesn't have, it could just be, hey, we have an office at Prudential, we'd like all of us to be able to get there. As a matter of fact, when we start talking about our list of companies and you're talking to people, please invite them to be part of NAIFA Live. Make it a standard that everybody in the principal office, they all tune into NAIFA Live that third Thursday, I think it is, to be able to be part of this. That's something that's an easy ask, and we can get people involved and they can get to know us, okay? So if you have questions on that and you say, I too would like to be a watch party, and how can I get involved? You need to talk to your set team member. That's who you should go to, and we've got a whole process. We'll set you up for success, but it's a great way to do not only member retention, but also to do acquisition. All right, let's talk about some new partnership updates that we had of Q2 successes, and I'm going to invite Elena Philo to come up and present to us on that.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning on the West Coast. Do not let the backdrop fool you. I'm not your local weather girl. My name is Elena Philo. I'm the Director of Business Development at NAIFA. And when we came and met with you at the last Growth Summit, Brian and I gave you some updates as far as our corporate partnerships, who we were working on. There was a much longer list that you probably saw at that time. This, what you see now, does not mean that we do not still have those partnerships in place, but we wanted to highlight these 5 organizations for you to really point out what we're calling our Fab 5, which is the ones that have really engaged the most and have really started to drink the NAIFA Kool-Aid a little bit more. Of those 5, we have Principal, Prudential, Mutual of Omaha, which Suzanne had mentioned, American National, and Guardian. And the reason why we want to highlight these, because we want to still get your help from the local level, the state level, and recognize that we have these partnerships in place with each one of these organizations, but we still need to continue driving membership growth through them. We still need to continue having the conversation at the local level. So while we have the partnerships in place, while we are also starting to drive agency presentations, which you'll hear a little bit more from John Spear on those, we need you to also remember that there's an opportunity for your local areas to really continue encouraging them to drive membership, to encourage them to attend P+P. Some of these that are on this list actually have either complimentary or discounted registrations for P+P. So we want to make sure that we're continuing to get that message across, that we're continuing to drive membership growth through them and conversations through their local offices. Some of these agreements that we have in place are pretty comprehensive. So if you have questions about those, you're not sure what's included, please reach out. We're happy to answer any questions. And with that, I'm turning it over to John Spear.
Thank you, Elena. Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, and most of you probably do, but I'm Jonathan Spear. I'm the Director of Membership and now Agency Programs here at NAIFA. Wanted to talk a little bit, just detail a little bit specifically about, we've mentioned Mutual of Omaha a couple of times. And I just want to show you as an example of what happens when we sort of take one of these partners and turn a little attention to it, right? So what you're looking at here is a map of, and it's in grayscale, so it's a little bit hard to see, but this is basically where we've had contacts and agency presentations with Mutual of Omaha. On the heels of the agreement that we signed with them, which does have a specific partner portal page, there's a lot of P's in there, partner portal page, and their corporate dues rate and registration rate for P+P. We turned up the heat under reaching out to their agency managers, their managing directors in the area, just to see what kind of traction we could get. So we've had some level of contact with Mutual of Omaha agency managers and managing directors in, I believe it's 26 states at this point, with some of them really leaning very heavily. So you'll see Florida is the darkest one on there. That's because we've done, I think we've done 5 presentations or have those scheduled with Mutual of Omaha offices in the state of Florida. This is a really great example of what happens when we get a partner like Mutual of Omaha on board and they start working with us, right? For those of you who are been paying attention, right? Their corporate office has been sending out emails and promoting NAIFA membership out to their field for the last several months. Then I come in and sort of play the follow-up game and, hey, you've probably seen some of this communication from your home office. Let's talk about setting up a time and an opportunity to present the NAIFA story to the agents who report to you, the advisors in the field who are in your region. And really, for the most part, everyone says yes. And this ranges anywhere from a virtual agency presentation, the 12-minute one that Dennis does, all the way to actually being invited to some of their local meetings meetings, their meetings to actually present to their teams live and in person. It's a great example of what happens when we pair our efforts to deliver agency presentations and drive that recruitment effort with the partnerships that we're developing here. And we'll talk about that in a little more detail later. I also want to mention this other place where we're developing partnerships with these sort of areas that are aligned with some of the centers that we put out. So as a perfect example, just last month, I was in St. Louis at the SMS Senior Marketing Specialists Conference. They're a group that's in the Medicare, the supplemental Medicare space. And it's a really interesting example, again, of what happens when we put up a center and start to talk to people about it. The SMS folks were at Congressional Conference. They were really impressed with the event that we put on there, the opportunity to talk to their legislators under the NAIFA umbrella and really work in this NAIFA environment of everything that we're doing, not just on the advocacy front, but also what we're doing for the industry and for advisors in the industry. So they invited us out in conjunction with Mark Aker, who you can see in the picture there. Mark actually writes business through SMS and is one of their downstream partners. So in conjunction with Mark, we get out there to St. Louis. We signed up 12 to 15 members at the show. We signed up probably another 30 or 40 to be subscribers to the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center, and really started to put some heat under that relationship. We now are in negotiations with SMS to be a larger partner with ours, and we're starting to look at this for other opportunities as well, right? We just stood up the Advanced Planning Center, which you'll hear more about. And this really speaks to an opportunity to create those partnerships and those opportunities to develop new relationships with IMOs, FMOs, and so on. So if you've got someone who you write business through, if you've got these people in your network, whether you're upstream or downstream, we want to meet those folks. That gives us an opportunity to help spread the NAIFA story. It gives us the chance to broaden our footprint. If you've noticed a trend here, everything we've talked about so far today has been about sort of widening the NAIFA patch and having more people to talk to and growing membership by telling our story to more people in more places. So we're really excited about this, and please help us continue to do this, grow these partnerships, and move NAIFA forward. And with that, Suzanne.
All right, thanks, John.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so let's move on to talking about NAIFA by the numbers and moving the needle. So a couple of things to talk before I kind of unveil where we are. Big news is that, as hopefully everybody on here knows, we're moving CRM systems, and we're really going from a time period, just to be candid, of having a pretty wide margin of error of knowing what these numbers are, even the ones in the OSC and et cetera. It was a system that had been customized and customized and customized with zero documentation over the years, so it was always a little bit of a plus or minus game. The good news is we cut through all that, and since we're making so many changes, why not just go for one more and have a ton of grit? And we have been putting in a new system called Your Membership, if you haven't heard that news yet. And it's just coming online, so our numbers are right between the two systems, so they're going to become more and more accurate. But as of May, we're really tracking new members, et cetera, through the system. The numbers that are a little bit it's still some fuzziness as we continue to transfer over and like move things like the ledger deduct programs is really going to be more on the cancels lapses. But as we go by next quarter, we'll be completely standardized. As a matter of fact, if you haven't heard the news, and I will reiterate it again, the OSC is really now frozen. June 17th, it will go away. It will be replaced by all of the new numbers are coming from Your Membership. This has been a huge effort from Michelle Grassley-Clark and her team, in particular Jess Nickel, who many of you probably either have heard from or know that she's kind of the keeper of the numbers there, keeper of the data. But what we've also done in that process is really, really do a huge amount of data hygiene, cleaning up the data, getting it nice and crisp, deduping, et cetera. If you've ever had to do any work in Excel, which is this much, versus a massive database of converting, you know how big of an undertaking it is. So we can't even tell you how excited. And then on that one, I'll just give another plug. This in June, it's the first time that we did all of our renewals through YM, so they were automated, as well as now we're moving over the ledger deduct programs and those annual automated programs. So we're continuing to move that over, and we're continuing to innovate in NAIFA. So we're busy, to say the least. So let's look at the numbers. All right, so year over year, new members. So I put all this in color so we can all see it more clearly, because a lot of the times PowerPoint, it's like a light blue to blue. And since we all have different monitors, and you guys have all told me that, I hopefully made it nice and bright, though it does look a little like Notre Dame. So if you're an Irish fan, awesome. But let's just look where we are. So here's what you need to know. Yellow is 2018. Green for growth is 2019. Okay. So if you look at these numbers that we now have that we've stated, green one's bigger. So we're in the right direction. Okay. June, it's not as big yet, but remember, this is taken as of yesterday. So this is a slice as of June 11th. So if you look at it in real terms, we're actually not too far off, considering we still have really 3 more weeks of the month. So you can make the difference. So we know we're trending the right way on new. Remember, these are brand new. This is not reinstate. This is not former and I came back. This is new. I've never been in NAIFA before. So something we're doing is definitely happening. So all the work that Dennis has been doing is agency presentations. We've been out in the field. We've been putting out more messaging. The new programs that we have, our advisor ambassador program, et cetera, these things are all starting to germinate and allowing us to start having growth. So again, we want to fan the flame, and how can we do that together? But we want to say collectively, it's working, okay? If you don't know, I didn't put a slide in here for this, but just to reiterate, Monday is Membership Monday. So you are going to see this from here on out. I'm going to tell you a little story too about Membership Monday. We started it a couple of weeks ago. I'm looking over Zach, 2 months ago or so, where we started saying we're going to, from the week before on Mondays, we're going to say, here's all the people that joined. We put it out onto Instagram, we put it out on Facebook, put it on Twitter. We put it on Twitter, NAIFA and Twitter Advocacy, because those are new people that are helping our congressional footprint. And we're starting to build that out more and more. We also posted on our website, again, giving a lot of press, if you will, to people that are now new members. The addition we're going to start having, I'm a big fan of, I build teams with each month do one thing more that you didn't do previously, okay? So always growing. This month, we're going to start adding it into the NAIFA Main Street USA blog. So we're going to be able to do a profile, we'll pick people, we'll highlight them, and we'll start with kind of one a week, and then we'll build up momentum, because it'll be great for you guys to tell us who you'd like to highlight, or you can highlight it at the state or local level, send it up to us, we'll repost it. That's how we can get a lot more kind of name and lights, if you will, name drop. That really helps out an advisor, right, in their own business, in their own marketing, and their own prospecting. So here's my little story. And it also highlights how much NAIFA has changed and where you need to be ready to do business in 2019. So yesterday, out of the corner of my eye, we use Zendesk as our ticketing system. We have connected it to our NAIFA National Facebook page, and it pings me. And it's also connected into, so I get text message and I'll see an email. So out of the corner of my eye, because I was busy doing probably a lot of membership sync-up calls, out of the corner of my eye, I see someone write in, Beth McKinley, as a matter of fact, from Thrivent, and she writes in and says, hello, I happen to notice on Instagram you're starting to do Membership Monday posts. Is this recent? I don't remember ever seeing my name, and I joined probably before you did this. As a suggestion, you should think about taking everybody who's joined from January 1st to now so that I get included, right? And it came through again. It came through Facebook. She didn't write in. She didn't call us. She didn't email into info@naifa.org. She came in through Facebook. So we have to point there, just to stop, modernize and understanding how many places people are going to talk back to you now, like input is coming, how many areas you have to be on the ready for, and how you have to meet people where they are. So that came across my desk, and what do you think we were able to do with it? Not only did we write back and say, hey, Beth McKinley, 1, thank you for reaching out. 2, thank you for caring and asking the question. Thanks for making the ask. You know what, Beth? That's a great idea. Not only will we go ahead and redo all of January through here, it's a great mid-year point, but why don't we ask if you give us 15 minutes of your time to do an interview, and then can you send us your headshot, anything else you'd like to? We can do a Main Street USA video. We can do this whole profile, because you know what? You're going to get rewarded because you reached out and you participated. How does that sound, Beth? Beth writes back, boom, what does she have attached? Her resume, her headshot, her video, all these things. Here's all of my available times. I thank you so much. This is the greatest thing. I am so excited to be part of this organization. That is how you can do stuff in digital. It can be that quick, we can be that agile, and we can turn it around. But we have to be listening, and we have to understand what people really want out of this, and where we can, again, do not just product and program placement, but people placement. And that's something that's really a new aspect that we can take on, and we can take on together, right? So that's something, a little idea there for Q3 planning. It doesn't take a lot of time to call someone up and make them feel amazing and to hear their story, because the stories of our Main Street USA members, that's why people join, because they're really interesting people, and we want to be able to reward them and applaud them, and also celebrate any accolades that they might have. So keep that in the back of your mind too, because that's going to help. So if we have an award winner, they're also a NAIFA member, I don't know, and they're at the Kiwanis Club. I was just at NAIFA Illinois, hey NAIFA Illinois, last week for their annual meeting. They had the Young Leader of the Year Award. He stood up and they're reading his accolades, total NAIFA member, total either All-American girl or boy, that's our personas. And he not only was a NAIFA member, YAT Leader of the Year, he was also involved in like 3 different charities, the chamber, right, on and on and on. Our members are highly engaged people, so let's make sure that we know that, because if we put that out to the world and saying, congratulations to Tim in NAIFA Illinois, guess what? Other people like Tim are attracted to that, and they too want to be part of NAIFA. That is a very different position in creating that kind of demand than running after people and begging them, you know, and giving them like a list of benefits. People want to be with people. We need to keep applauding our people. So that's what we've been doing, and we can see by the numbers, it's working. That's the good news. The bad news is we still have this cancellation problem. So if we look here and if you look, the easier one to look at is look on the one that's new and canceled year over year. The difference between these two charts is that if you look at the big 40, drop down line in June on the that has a black line, that's inclusive of June, so it's going to be a little bit skewed because you're seeing the black line is cancel. If you look at the other one, it's going January through May. If we just look at trend lines, so let me just walk you through it. The blue line is 2018 new. You can see it kind of is a little bit bumpy. The orange line is 2018 cancel. It's really all over the place. It's very, almost a W shape. 2019 new is green. You can see it starts higher than blue, and it's trending. It's actually been a little bit steady. We've been over 100 new members each month, and now we're on an uptick. And then black is the cancel, and you'll notice there. Look at the delta between the black and the green. So we are so close to that break-even point at that +1, right? That's where we are. Look, we are really, really here. If we can finish this in the last half of this year, we will have gone +1. We're very confident. I'm sure I'd ask Dennis to have some other commentary when he comes back up here. So again, on the other piece, all you're seeing is the one with June. The reason I put that in there, I just wanted to show you, again, with the trend line and just be true to date, that we're showing you the real numbers where we are. One last thing I'll say about cancellations and whatnot, we did go through, so think about what we've done with our base. We have really put our value to the test. We went through a bylaw change, a brand new organization January 1st. Then we went through a dues increase at the same time, okay? Third thing is we just moved to a new system, and we're just changing out how everybody's getting billed, et cetera. So we just went through that process. So you're gonna see some more cancellations as people became more aware of that. We're gonna have to go through those painful processes. We're getting very, very real about kind of who's with us, so we can say, okay, now we're in growth mode. So just a couple of caveats with the numbers there. All right, this is a new one that will be interesting to all. So starting in April, so April plus means April, May, and going forward. We started looking at the number of cancels, and like I said, we're in a little, I don't have all the numbers right now because it's a little bit between systems, but what we did do is we started bucketing of all those cancels, why people are canceling. And we had been collecting that information before, but not in a structured data format to allow us to actually report on it. But starting in April, that was one of the improvements we made for Q2. We started doing that. So there's many, many more reasons than this. There's a kind of a pretty detailed, granular list we were trying to get to. But the ones I want you to really focus in on are the three that are highlighted. 98 people leaving the industry. This is from April to year to date. 98 people leaving the industry. Okay, well, can we do anything about that? There's nothing we can do. So 98 people are leaving the industry. Probably the likelihood of them being a NAIFA member is nil. Okay, so not much we can do with that. But the two that I want you to look at is eliminate expenses and the no value in NAIFA. Okay, those give pause. Eliminate expenses, we can all understand that. We need to do some more investigation into it. What was the scenario? Where are they in their career? What age are they? Where do they live, within geographically, et cetera. So we have that on the docket to investigate that. Last quarter, we broke it down by age, years of tenure, tenure, et cetera. So that one. But look at the bottom one. No value in NAIFA. No value in NAIFA, 130. So that's what we really are focusing in on and making sure that every day we're building that value in, but that people have to know it. And I'm just going to give a foreshadowing towards when we start talking about challenges, because that's going to be the big one about communication. And is that one of the reasons that people are canceling? Okay. So with that, we're going to move over to the next phase, which is talking about blocking points for growth. And we're going to start in with talking about our chapter action reports and sync-ups. And I'm going to invite Dennis to come back on up. Yes, sir.
Welcome back. I'd like to speak about the chapter action reports and the sync-ups. There are still more than acceptable number of states and locals who have not submitted their chapter action plan. Think of it this way. If you report to a manager or you report to a company and they've asked you for a plan, and that plan was due on January 31st, 2019, and you still haven't received it, what would you expect that company to do? They would probably take some action. NAIFA is not taking any action right now, but we did have one state reach out to a few of their locals who did not submit their local chapter action plans and said it very simply. Submit the plans, because this is a part of the chapter agreements that you signed. Submit the plans, otherwise we'll consider it as a negative in deciding if you're going to continue on as a local chapter come January 1st, 2020. There's no threats here. What we're doing, we're simply looking at it and saying, there's no reason why you can't grow from your current number to what you were at on December 31st, 2018. We met with the Greater Washington, D.C. people not long ago, just a few hours ago. And in learning what they're doing and providing them these tools, we determined that they could add 100 members to their membership roster. They stand at 120 right now, and they can add 100 more. That's roughly $25,000 of income, recurring income for that local chapter. Think of what each state and local could do with $25,000 of additional income. It can support their staffing, support their lobbyists. This is huge. It will help NAIFA. It was going to help the locals. So we're asking you to get on board with this. All you have to do is go online, sign up. There's days that we're blocking out for this. So sign up. We'll be reaching out to those who have not signed up very shortly. Please don't be on that list. I hate reaching out to somebody that doesn't seem they want to grow with NAIFA. Okay, so in Q1, we've asked each state and each local to do presentations. The states to do 2 and the locals to do 1. Right now, the way we look at it is many states and locals are just in the huddle. They've called the play and they refuse to break the huddle and run out and go get up to the line of scrimmage and run the ball. As Leanne Toomey said, run the dang ball. Just get out and run it. Bad things won't happen, only good things. We're stuck in the huddle. The referee's throwing the yellow flag, and we're getting a delay of game penalty. And we keep going backwards. If we run the ball, if we throw in that West Coast offense and just throw the ball downfield, there'll be somebody down there to catch it, and NAIFA will move forward. I don't see any reason why we can't do 2 per state. Yes, some states are just too small. Maybe Delaware, maybe Rhode Island are too small to do 2. but other states should be able to make up for it. In our chats with California, we're looking at 6 per month, not 2. IFAPAC, let's move over to IFAPAC for a minute. Very shortly, probably sometime in July, there'll be a new website. It's going to be simple, NAIFA.org/contribute to IFAPAC or IFAPAC. That title is being worked on. Here you can go and just put in your email address that's tied to NAIFA. Next page that you'll land on, all the information NAIFA has about you, your address, your phone number, everything will migrate over, and all you need to do is put in your credit card information to make a contribution. Think about how simple this is. What we currently do is hand somebody an application, a contribution form, and the typical reaction is, I'll mail it back to you. We know that doesn't happen. Just like with membership, we moved over to a simple process, NAIFA.org/grow or NAIFA.org/join, and people can sign up for their mobile phones. They can make this contribution the same way. This is simple, this is easy, and it prevents people from walking away with the application and never sending it in. Who is listening in today has ever handed a client a paper application and said, hey, when you have a chance, fill it out and mail it back to me? It just doesn't happen. More recently, the IFAPAC committee has made a recommendation to the Board of Trustees. That recommendation has been approved by the Board of Trustees. The recommendation will align the IFAPAC splits to be equal to the membership fee revenue share, 60-40. This is brought about by a number of reasons. Most importantly, the reason is when someone is running for a federal office, it's usually in the millions of dollars to fund a campaign. Senatorial are in the tens of millions of dollars to run a campaign. Local politicians, local assembly people, local senators, those are generally in the $50,000 range. So starting in July, the splits will change. It's going to be 60-40 to align itself with the revenue sharing on the membership fees. Can we receive questions? Okay, so if you have questions, feel free to type them in. At the end, we'll get to them, Suzanne?
Whatever you want to say.
Okay, if you're typing them in now, I'll respond to them. If you're typing them in later on, I'll come back, or Suzanne come back, or Elena will come back. I believe Suzanne's back up now?
Yep. Thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're moving on to talking about some other challenges I alluded to earlier. And that is, we brought this, the first time you saw this slide, if you were in one of the leadership meetings, was at P+P of 2018. And what we talked about is setting out a vision with NAIFA to the end, right? So we think of it exponential growth. How do we do it? What we said was we have to build this distribution channel. So I'm just going to tie back into the idea of, again, the distribution channel. I love channel marketing. It's such an opportunity here at NAIFA. And if we can get this thing cranking, the sky is the limit for what we can really do. So let's talk about it again and really understand it and take a moment. So we really understand what we're trying to do. So let's take, again, an example like NAIFA Live. So NAIFA Live, I told you, was really a state-run idea. So a couple of states got together. Some other states had we're doing something similar, like NAIFA Indiana was doing that. We had kind of a similar program. But the 4 states came, and they came to national and said, hey, we think this is probably better if national drives the program, but it's delivered stateside, if you will. So it's delivered at the state and local level. And so we want to figure out how we take this new program and we can use it for, like I was saying, product, program, and people placement. So we said, great. So we started with NAIFA Live. The first host city was in Minnesota. We had watch parties in Nebraska, Iowa, and North Dakota. And we had that. So we had, again, if you don't know the program, we had one person who's actually physically someplace like we are right now, like I'm here with a group of us. We're broadcasting. And then there's many different watch parties where they're gathered together and just literally watching this live stream together as a group, and then they can have their business meeting after. They can then have case study discussion, however it is you want to formulate that meeting, again, at the in-person local level. But we also have virtual participants who are taking questions, etc. That whole structure, by the way, is called a hybrid event. It's the ability to have both face-to-face and virtual simultaneously and do it well. So we came up with NAIFA Live and we said, great, let's release it again to the 4 states. And we moved the host location person around. So then Iowa hosted their convention, then it went over and back to Minnesota, et cetera. And we started seeing that the numbers of virtual participants, we started with those, and then we started expanding and saying, hey, now it's open to New Jersey, because Dennis wanted his people in there. Then it said, hey, now it's open. Now Texas said, we want to be a part of this. So Texas kind of came on board. And when I say that come on board, it means that they not only started helping set up watch parties within Texas, but they also started promoting the program the same way. So we put out NAIFA Live, and then we put it at NAIFA National, let's just say Instagram or Facebook, and now we see NAIFA Texas doing it. We see NAIFA Maine doing it. We see NAIFA Wisconsin doing it. Each one of those channels has a different group of people who subscribe to that channel. That allows us to amplify our growth. So we were able to do this at the national level, move it to the state level, and then down to the local level. And if all of those, if Dallas is also promoting it, imagine again that amplified growth that we get. That's huge exposure to both current members and to non-members to allow them to, get a taste of NAIFA and help us to quickly speed up the conversion process into membership, because that's what the ultimate goal is here. Let's talk about this whole section we're talking about. It's great, Suzanne, but why are we talking about this? Because it's challenge. Here's the challenge. We're creating all of these programs. You have programs probably at your state level. Maybe everybody knows about them. But these big programs we're making a huge investment in putting in NAIFA Live, the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center, where we have 15 sponsors, the Advanced Practices Center with this Level Up event, when we have things like the LACP, even keep going, LUTCF, et cetera. We have these big programs. How is it that we're launching these in October, November, December, January, keep going. And then we are having leadership webinars at the top of every month, leadership email newsletter, and we're sending those. We started in August. Guys, we're almost up to a year on that cycle now. We started that last August. We have that happening. We listened to you. We consolidated all the emails down into a Friday newsletter, unless it's something extra special. The Friday newsletter has everything you want to know in it, okay? So we've tried to coordinate all of this, and yet I was in a room last week and said, by a show of hands, how many people have heard of NAIFA Live? Not a hand. How many people have heard of Advisor Ambassador? Not a hand. How many people have heard of a Limited and Extended Care Planning Center? Not a hand. True story. I was up on Capitol Hill at Congressional Conference. I meet these two wonderfully dressed gentlemen from Northwest Mutual. They've got their NAIFA pins on. Hey guys, how's it going? Can I take your picture? Put it on social media. Of course, and again, you say social media to an advisor who is kind of attuned to what's happening on digital. Their eyes light up. They said, great. They were so funny. They both got together and each one of them put their hands like that and put the Capitol in the middle. So they had a great time. Had a serious shot, had a funny shot. But point being, as we're talking, I'm like, hey, and I look at their business cards, they hand it to me, and on it they have designation CLTC. Hey guys, you both in long-term care? Yep, that's the majority of our practice. Fantastic. Are you by chance aware of our Limited and Extended Care Planning Center? Why no, Suzanne, we have no idea. What is that? That's what we do. How do we not know? How do we not know if we're somehow missing from NAIFA to NAIFA National to the member? And then I don't know, and that's the part we have to find out together. Are we also missing it state to member? Are we missing it local to member? But because so many of these relationships were held so closely, we're trying to figure out how do we open that up, because the message isn't getting through. And you can see by what we're talking about, the opportunities for growth are immense if we can amplify it. But if we all have little silos and we're not actually telling and communicating the information out, then you can see that's one of the biggest challenges we're really facing. Because if we're launching great programs, if we're talking about the Fab Five of PRIN, PRU, MU, right, American National, Guardian, and we're the only people talking to ourselves, then you know what? It's no different than for the last 25 years continuing to market into our same set of members who aren't opening our email. So we're going to go down into a downward spiral and continue to go that. We have to stop the spiral. We have to really get serious and coordinate about how we're going to get all of these communications out there. And really, again, halfway into the new NAIFA, right, the birth announcement went out of the new NAIFA in January, and we've been having as many ways possible. We need to hear from you. How do we get the message out? It's one of the reasons that Michelle, Dennis, and I bonded together and started going door to door. We're making sure that on those calls, we've got the leadership that needs to know about this stuff, and we're making sure that we take that time. We're talking a lot of time to make sure that everybody gets the message, and we'll go door to door as much as we have to. But it would be great if we could figure out how to solve that problem. A lot of this is compounded with a couple of other things I just want to touch on. One is we have an over dependency on email. And so email for most of us, and I'm talking about from the national, state, local, has become the communication device of choice because of the cost. Most of us have cut out printing. Most of us have cut out direct mail, and we don't do that anymore. One thing I'll note for national that you may or may not know that we do is we actually still send out paper invoices. If you're not on a monthly plan and you're on some sort of annual, you will receive 2 to 3 actual physical, direct mail pieces. We started doing in January is putting a billing insert in there, which is basically a printed newsletter. Because you know what? By hook or by crook, we're going to get in front of the people that need to know. And we're finding out that that has been driving people back to the website, et cetera. Because otherwise, we were completely reliant and completely beholden to email. And we know we can't be there anymore because our email open rates of all the emails we send out, we've got a couple of problems. And most of us are, it's very complicated. It really is. It seems simple, but it's not. Most of us are not aware of how many people have opted out, how many people aren't opening, and also how many people have either been told to opt out of national, only look at state or local, et cetera, or they just don't know, or they've opted out, or they've mistakenly done it. It's a culmination of all these things. Point being, in Q3, we've got to figure this one out. The big thing there is when we come to P+P, and hopefully you're coming to the leadership meeting there, we're going to sit down and we're going to figure out with the new system how we're going to clean up this mess. Because we don't have, imagine if you have your customers and you can't get to them to tell them that they need to re-up their insurance policy, right? We have to find out a communication method. And email, of course, is one way, but we have to look at those other ways: mobile, text messaging, and social media. Right, so social media is going to, again, be a big piece, and you're going to start seeing some online communities come online, we'll talk about in a second. But we have to think about how can we win back the attention span right here of our members, because we are not getting the message out. And that has been the continuous theme, certainly my tenure at NAIFA, is finding out that people just don't know all the stuff we have. And what they thought was NAIFA as their membership fees when they said it had no value, it was because they didn't see value going to the one monthly local meeting, et cetera, that didn't have, it wasn't set up for them, or didn't have the right people for them, or whatever, didn't have the right programming. And so therefore they left NAIFA. They're not even aware of this huge opportunity that's in NAIFA and all the different programs. If anything, we have too much to market. So we need a good way to have it bite-sized that people get to know NAIFA, but we got to figure out how do we get the message from point A to point B, and we're all in alignment with pushing the message. One last note on that. In today's world of running a modern association, the time frame of everything is much faster. If you think about instant messaging, if you think about posting on social media, if you think about how fast people find out information. So if you only have something like a quarterly newsletter, and we're trying to grow, or we're trying to get people to re-engage or participate, think about how much of an issue that is. While these growth summits seem to us, they come up very quickly. A quarter is like a blink of an eye. At the same token, if we waited 3 months to tell someone about NAIFA Live, or 3 months to tell someone that we got accredited for the LACP, well, that's a lost market opportunity in a time frame that we just don't have. So we're trying to move as quickly as possible to crack the code on this, and you're going to see more, again, data coming your way for us to help figure out how we can solve this problem. But that's one of the biggest challenges right now for us in this distribution channel, is the message is not getting delivered. Okay, so in doing that, I want to talk about a couple of things about the distribution channel, and we kind of painted the picture for how it can work, and I'm going to use Nationwide again as our example. So I've outlined it for bullet points so we can just see it, to say, okay, if we solve that problem and the message could get out, here's what life could be like. So if we have the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center, and here comes Nationwide as a sponsor, our role at National is to secure the sponsorship, have the relationships, build up the program, outline how we're going to market entity to entity, and how we're going to have that flow down, okay? We're going to be able to understand how it fits into our advocacy efforts, how it fits in the revenue portfolio, and then we're going to go over and say, hey, listen, we're going to unroll it. We're going to roll it out to everyone saying, hey, every state and local, you automatically have inherited Nationwide under the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center, which means part and parcel, you're part of the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center, which means that you can leverage the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center. What does that mean? That means we're going to look to expect to see that in your state programs. We're going to look to see and expect to see that you've got a long-term care, a session or track or some event that's happening within your state. So we're going to standardize on those pieces, and you're going to be able to say you need to add it to your own marketing, which means you should be saying to me, hey, Suzanne, where do we get all the logos for the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center partners? Do we have material we can use? Do we have collateral we can use? How can we use it correctly? And we're going to say, yes, we do. That's what we've been building out for all of these kits, etc. Now, on this one in particular, think about the cost for your state for you to inherit that program. You paid nothing to be part of this whole network of being part of the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center. So the piece we need you to do is to drive people into it, to know about it, to support it, to put it on your website, to talk about it on Facebook, to mention it, to use our materials, etc. That way we can, again, amplify that and move together. Let's take another one. Another example is the Advisor Ambassador Program. So we started this in October. Year to date for 2019, we have 10 new members in 2019. And if you're not familiar with this program, it's a gem. It is completely driven by YATs. We have the same 4 topics every month, but a different presenter. And one of our YAT ambassadors has an opportunity to not only present on the topic, but give their flavor of the topic, their 2 cents on the topic. They get recorded, we applaud them, and we're going to do more of it. We're just at the very beginning of this program about how we're going to do this. This program is focused in on prospects. Here's how much it costs for us to run the program. So we it's sweat equity, it's volunteer driven. It's a beautiful program that's just a win-win for everyone. And all of the prospects get an opportunity for them to actually get to know NAIFA members, which informs their decision better than we could ever do in helping them to say, I too want to be part of this group. Okay, so it's a great way for us to present our ambassadors. It's a great way for us to applaud our YATs, and it's just a win-win, because once that person converts and they come into NAIFA, well, that's coming into your state or your local as well. As a matter of fact, we have so many leads, we were going to share them with you and say, how can we help to drive this together to bring more people into the fold more quickly? Okay, and so one of the asks here, while this is a great program, we don't have consistency across all of the states and locals of one, knowing what this is, and probably more importantly, sending us new YATs who want to be leaders and speakers. So we've kind of gotten through the goodwill of our national YAT committee people, and we're starting to kind of recycle them, and they're all amazing, so it's great. It's a benefit for us, but we want to be able to spread the wealth, and we want more people to know about it. So if you're looking for an opportunity in Q3 about what could we do, start tapping some YATs. Make sure you have a YAT program. Start saying, hey, I want to nominate you to be in this program, right? Get the word out. We'll have more materials for you to help market that as well. All right, so a couple other things I wanted to show you under the challenges for Q3 and along similar veins with some numbers is that we started the 2020 Member Experience Program in January, and this was to backfill a problem that we had. If we can remember back to the P word of the pilot program, one of the things that happened there is we had artificial growth, and we had people sign up. There was no skin in the game, and there was also no onboarding process there to help make it stick. And NAIFA is a huge world to navigate. So we started in January of this year, and we put in this 2020 member experience program, which is really a set of combination of live orientations. We have that at the top of each month, as well as each month we step through a specific member benefit or some idea of it. So thus far we've had 6. We started with we've covered things like Client Cast. We've covered Dan Finley's coaching sessions, IFA PAC. We've covered Advocacy 101 training, how to get published and be a speaker within NAIFA and get more notoriety, etc. And so we'll continue on that path. Okay, so that sounds great. Our numbers, let's look at our numbers. By the way, what we found out as soon as we put this out is we had more people saying, hey, I'm not a new member, but I actually don't know what my membership number gets me, and I want to join in too. We saw the same thing with Advisor Ambassador. So our current members actually started getting more engaged to say, I didn't know, like I had no idea we had access to professional pathway or what have you. So we started breaking out and having 2 tracks, one for new members and one for current members as a refresher. And so you're seeing the numbers. So let's look at engagement, if you will. So in January, we had 125 new members come to orientation because we only had that. We had 735 people register. In February, we had 38 new members register for 29 for orientation, 38 for the Client Cast, which was the benefit one, 22. You see the numbers. Look at April, look at May, look at June. So we started off really strong, and then we start to see a tapering down. We also put in last Q4 of 2018, these quarterly State of NAIFA webinars. And we're about to have the next one coming up at the end of June, okay? These are phenomenal, power-packed webinars. You get Jill Judd, whoever's the current president, Jill Judd, Kevin Mayu, and Diane Boyle. And they're talking about exactly what they've done in the quarter and what's to come. Okay, these are like don't miss webinars. If you at all care about the industry, you would be on this webinar. Our one we did in March, we had 127 people. And right now, for 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, we have 6. So something's happening or not happening. And the same thing with the Growth Summit. We had 224, our first one, and today it was like 104. So I took these numbers yesterday, but 104. So we don't know yet if it's a real trend or not, but these programs are all $0 for us. We already have the sunk costs of our time and the tools, but we need to make sure we're finding a way to continue to support it and promote it and push engagement, et cetera, because these are the fabric, these pieces are gonna keep us together and help us to move forward. And we need to figure out together what's happening. And again, we don't have enough data to know. This could be seasonality. It could be just on our side. We're just too strapped for time and effort and didn't market it enough. There's all sorts of reasons we don't know. What we do know is looking at trends to start with. Okay, so we're gonna look at this. But we also know that many, we know from our state sync-ups, most of the states didn't know we were doing this. Most of the states were like, I didn't know. And then they also don't know how to promote it and make sure that they have this effort, and then they also have their own onboarding program. So it's all we're figuring out together. We've never done this, you guys. We've never done it. So there's no shame in anyone's game here. It's just about being aware of it and how do we artfully, purposely put this together to really be able to amplify growth and make it sustainable, right? Because we don't want to bring people in and they have a bad experience. So we need to figure it out and fix it and tweak it, and we need everybody's involvement to do that, okay? So last couple of pieces on this is looking at these promo kits, is what we call them. So when we were talking about the distribution channel piece of it, so let's take, for example, the example we always use here is we talk about McDonald's, because what's more Main Street USA than McDonald's? So if we're McDonald's International and we're gonna launch the new sandwich, the Big Mac, et cetera, we have a look and feel for the Big Mac. And we're gonna roll out, and let's say we're gonna do a, I don't know, 2 for $5 Big Mac special. We're gonna roll that special out, we're gonna have the artwork, we're gonna have all of it, and we're gonna send it to all of the franchisees. And all of the franchisees are gonna use it, they're gonna put it into their store the same way, they're going to advertise it during the same time period, et cetera, and they're all going to do this. It takes a ton of coordination, but guess what it does to sales of Big Macs? Without a shadow of a doubt, sales of Big Macs will skyrocket during that time period because everybody is doing their part to move as one. So what we're trying to do is exactly the same thing. So we've rolled out these promotional kits, and because we have so many programs, I get it, it's overwhelming. But they're there, and I just want to reiterate that they're there, and we need to use them. Because just like a local store of McDonald's, let's say in Westerville, Ohio, they're not going to come up with their own look and feel of the Big Mac special. So too, there are certain products and programs, as we talk about product and program placement, they're sacrosanct. You don't touch them, that's not the creative part. This is the product. Every time we see Power the Pin, it looks like this. Every time we see Advisor Ambassador, it looks like this. Every time we see LECP, P+P, et cetera, this is how it looks, and then we're rolling it out, and what then we would expect to see is that we see it on everybody's website. We see it on everybody's Facebook page. We see it on everybody's Instagram. And we're getting into that role. I'm delighted to say many of you, I in my spare time, I troll around websites and I pop up, I'm like, oh look, they put in advocate, educate, differentiate. It makes my heart, warm and fuzzy. I'm like, oh, that's wonderful. And we just need to do more. As Kevin, our CEO, says all the time, more please. We just need to do more of that and more consistently, and make sure that you're not picking and choosing. Like, these are the programs we're all pushing on. This is our national agenda, and we all have presence for that, and we're just going to keep feeding you these promotional kits. Having said that, one pause there is that our levels, if you look at how we're visually presenting ourselves online, and this is what we've seen during another challenge, they're all over the map. So we have some people who have super amazing, modern websites and Facebook pages, and they're cranking through social media, et cetera. And then we have other people that the copyright says 2012, and it hasn't been updated, and the people, like, the pictures are squished, et cetera, and we're not presenting in a way that a financial advisor would present to a client or an insurance agent. So we're always, looks matter in digital. We're always making sure that we're going to set a standard, and we're all going to have to, rising tide lifts all boats. We're going to have to come to a standard where we're all going to have to be to say, this is the minimum of what it looks like to be in a modern association in 2019. Part of that is having our rebrand is going to help us immensely, and getting everybody to the same set of tools and things like that. I'm just giving you a heads up on that one, because we are going to start looking at that and rewarding, those people, the organizations that are doing that. But it's really important that we have that, and we can't, there's no more getting away with it in 2019. I was doing a keynote the other day, and one of the fun facts I threw out is how many people know what year Instagram started? Because Instagram is always the one where, and this is like, I've done 20 years of association. Instagram's always the one association's like, I haven't gotten to that yet. Like, not on that yet, don't really get Twitter. Like, we have Facebook, that's kind of the general thing. And they're like, oh, Instagram, that's like pretty far off. But Instagram is the #1 social channel that's used by the market we're trying to go after. So if we're not there, you can see, one, the disconnect. The second thing is, people are like, I'm getting to it. Fun fact, Instagram was founded in 2010. So it's almost 10 years old. So we'd say that's a pretty solid business. So it's really not new, it's just maybe new to us. And sometimes we have to get real with where we are, and we need to we're in a hole. So we got to do a little extra work to get up to where we need to be in order for us to all market NAIFA in a consistent way that does this great organization justice, okay? So again, these growth kits are all connected off of that leadership page, and we'll be, we have holes and things in those, and we'll be filling those out, but they're all there, and we're just gonna have more and more training as we go through. We had to build the program first, and now we're really into putting this distribution channel together to promote it. Okay, so those are the challenges. They're big. We can do it together, right? Together we can take on anything. We talked about that tagline as part of the new brand. So let's talk about flexing over to Q3 and kind of some more opportunities of how we can grow. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jonathan Spear to give us another example of our Mutual of Omaha partner.
All right. And thank you, Suzanne. And actually, we are going to talk about Mutual of Omaha, but really in sort of concept for what else we'd like to do. right? So we saw this map before. We mentioned how the Mutual of Omaha effort that we've put in place has led to multiple agency presentations and multiple contacts, providing, for lack of a better term, air cover for our folks in the field, you all, to help pursue these for opportunities to do presentations. Well, what I'd like to throw out to you is the thought about doing this for multiple partners that we're working with, right? You saw that list of the Fab Five that we put up earlier. Imagine if we had a map like this for each of those five, and we want to turn this map, dark like Florida dark, it's with multiple presentations all the way across the map for all of those partners, right? We're going to start doing this as a way of tracking things so that we know what kind of impact we're having, where we're getting out, what we're doing, and how that all comes together. And the way we're going to do that, at least at the start end of this, right, is through some tracking mechanisms. Now, most of you on the call should have seen an email yesterday that put these tracking mechanisms out in front of you. They're essentially a very similar form, one that's for agency presentations that you're planning, that you have booked or are going to do, another one for ones that you have done. This is kind of vital. Right? When we talked to you before about wanting to do, it was 2 agency presentations per state, 1 per local, get these done every month. We need to know that these are actually happening, where they're happening, when they're happening. So this here is really going to be our key way of keeping track of those. And it's important that we know this not just for tracking so that we know that we're being effective, but we want to make sure that we know when these are happening so that we can assure that you all have the correct resources to do them, so that we know if there's an opportunity to overlap between meetings that are happening. Maybe we'll have board members in the area, or somebody is there for another conference, and we can go ahead and overlap and have presence there. Tracking this stuff and knowing when these things are going to happen is really kind of a crucial piece of this, and we need to make sure that we know everything that's going on. The last piece on this, obviously, is that when it comes time to working with these things, make sure that you're communicating with us if you have any issues about wanting to give these presentations, about making sure that you're trained up. If you remember, all the resources that you need to do these are on that leadership site, and they're all available for you, but we're here to help as well and make sure that when you are going and doing these, it all works for you as best as humanly possible. So please use these forms, make sure that you're telling us when things are happening, and we will work with you as best we can. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over because we have a few other fun things to talk about.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. Real quick, I mentioned on email, if you read it, that we're going to have a fun surprise for those who are actually holding the presentations. So we have the new NAIFA.org/shop is our new store. If you haven't seen it, it's got some of our awesome members with the power of the pen presented. But if you have not just book it, but you hold the presentation, the agency presentation, and you put that into the form, $50 of swag dollars are coming your way to send at the store. So that's just a fun way that we can just, amp up the competition. We know you guys like that, and find a good way to do it. So I just wanted to plug that before I turn it over to Brian Steiner.
Excellent. Thank you, Suzanne. Hello, virtual community. Before I start, and I'm going to touch upon a little bit around our industry alignment and strategic partnerships, and then working with some different influencer groups. But before I get into that, I just want to thank the team. I hope everyone out there is excited and energized with all of the new things that are coming out. Suzanne, Elena, John, Brian Money, Zach, and a lot of the folks here at the home office have been working crazy hours. Everything I feel like we're doing is new, and we're kind of starting from ground zero. So we appreciate your participation, your leadership, and what we really want to appreciate is your proactiveness after this is all over to kind of hit the streets and help us move NAIFA forward. So I'm not sure if we announced this in our previous summit, but just one of the things I wanted to highlight, we went into a formal advocacy agreement with NAILBA. For those that don't know NAILBA, hopefully you do, National Association of Independent Life Brokerage. Our leadership, our board, Kevin, myself, have been working for quite some time with their team in trying to find ways that we can coordinate and find some synergies and better align to not just support both our memberships, but the industry as a whole. And we recently announced a formal advocacy partnership We've always had them as supporters of P+P, as supporting the independent advisor reception. But you're going to see a lot more activities and events and content that's going to be pushed out collaboratively. And we're looking to hopefully use this as a springboard for us to have more visibility within the BGA community, the IMO community, the FMO community, and really helping spread our reach with independent advisors. Obviously, we've had great success and built a foundation with the career and the career agencies, but the independent advisor is a little bit of a challenge to herd and market to, just because they're everywhere. So working through channels like NAILBA, in collaboration and advocacy and working with their members, I think is going to help us better market our programming to elevate the advisors that work through those groups. So very, very excited about that. Well, I'm not going to, we don't need to pivot back. I think our slide jumped out of spots. One of the things too, and I'm going to go back into some things we're doing with the society, but just to let you guys know, if you haven't already, please check out the new P+P website. I think you're going to see a much more dynamic look and feel. I think it looks a lot more fun, and that really kind of, that snapshot there really kind of embraces the environment that I hope we've all felt we've created at P+P, since we've really revamped the look and feel of that conference from more of the historic nature of NAIFA. We're also going to be highlighting our Big Ideas workshops. These have been prominent fixtures within our main stage at P+P for the last 6 years. But one of the things we really want to start doing is elevating our rising leaders and our thought leaders within the NAIFA membership leading up to P+P. So we're going to start doing some thought leadership webinars, hopefully tying some into NAIFA Live as we move on, and doing Big Ideas presenters throughout the year, and then having those people have an opportunity to elevate and be part of our main stage platform at P+P in the future. So we're going to be doing a lot of content marketing around this. I think it's really cool. I think it's a way for us to help develop that next wave of leaders and speakers within the NAIFA community. We definitely have some longstanding folks that have been fantastic to NAIFA and travel the country speaking at our chapters and our events. But we're excited to build upon that network and start identifying that next wave of thought leadership. Something else that's cool, and I encourage you all to go back to the NAIFA.org website. If you don't know about this, we've been working very hard, like we did with NAILBA, with the Society of Financial Service Professionals. They have a unique makeup of membership beyond advisors. They work with CPAs, estate attorneys. They have a tremendous amount of content. And we were looking for ways to work together. In a number of our states and locals, there are already joint events that are happening organically without the direction of NAIFA National. But we have coordinated a task force of advanced market leaders from specific companies like Lincoln, Hancock, AXA, Mutual of Omaha, some players that we have not really historically engaged. And what we've done is, in coordination with the society, built the Level Up Roadshow. It's going to launch. Our first meeting is going to be in Dallas in August, with a date to be determined in the latter part of October in Charlotte. This is going to be all around advanced practices, loan-based split dollar, advanced investment strategy, estate planning, business continuation planning, COLI-BOLI. We're very, very excited about this. We're looking at this as a way to help elevate some of our chapters throughout the country, to provide another meeting opportunity. But this is also more of a pay-to-play. This is not available as a free member benefit. There are costs associated with participation. We're also trying to target cities that help open doors. When we look at Charlotte, and using this as a market opportunity, we have the likes of Bank of America and Wells Fargo that have huge wealth management sectors based in that city. LPL, FIG, huge independent networks that our member penetration is quite low in. And we're trying to be strategic in our choices to bring some really high level content and thought leadership and opportunity, and allow us to start, broadening the invite list to having these folks come in. So ultimately, if geographically it makes sense, we encourage you to participate, come, be there live. But we're also making this available as a live stream. But there's also some costs associated with this. So excited to do this in conjunction with the society. These first two that are scheduled are really tip of the iceberg. Our plan is to identify 4 to 5 cities in 2020 and do those in coordination next year. And then as far as influencers, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the Females in Finance group. This was an upstart organization by a woman named Cheryl Brown. She's become a real advocate for NAIFA and someone that we've really developed a nice relationship with through our limited and extended care planning center and engagement with the ILTCI community. And she's created an online network or community. And over the last, I'll say it's been less than a year, they have over 2,000 members. And when we talk about influencers and building out NAIFA's social media presence and our visibility, we need to start doing a better job of identifying and coordinating with folks like that so that, yes, we can help elevate females in finance, but also an opportunity for us to coordinate and get some more visibility and help build NAIFA's brand. So we're starting to develop a great relationship with Cheryl and her team. They've created a male ally network called MAN. Myself and one of my colleagues, Brian Money, were part of their inaugural membership group that went live. So we're very thankful and excited about that, and hopefully can help deliver some good thought leadership and content to the activities that they have going on. But if you haven't seen this group, and I'm not necessarily trying to take things away from NAIFA, but I encourage you to check it out. If you're a female, join. They've got a lot of cool stuff going, but we are going to start doing some joint activity with them. I think you're going to see them more visible at our events, hopefully P+P, and through a lot of the content that they push out through their network on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they reference and hashtag NAIFA like crazy. So they're excited to work with us. We're excited to work with them, and there's a lot of cool things in the pipe. So that's all that I had. They gave me a short deck because I think they're nervous it might go off the rails. So I'm going to turn it back to Suzanne, and we can keep this ship moving.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Okay, so a couple other things just on opportunities, and just this is more of a heads up, start being aware of it, et cetera. You know, we were talking about the email dependency, and we've gone from pushing out blast email to like every different program, just pushing it to having this consolidated Friday 2020 newsletter. So again, really would be good that we start to look and make sure everybody's subscribed to that, opening it, they're aware of it, or putting that into your own newsletter, say, hey, are you getting, you know, this one, et cetera. But in addition, we're moving to a world what's called integrated marketing and really targeted niche marketing. And so I'm going to use the Tom Hegna, there's riches and niches, because that's very applicable to targeted marketing as well. So instead of saying, okay, look, we're just going to keep blasting out to, you know, 30,000 people this message that, you know, that's a combination of all these things they may or may not be interested in, wouldn't it make sense to start having little niche groups so we can start to see if you're really interested in advanced practices, that's really your thing, you're not interested in this other kind of content, then hey, that's great. Let's make sure that you've got that email and you're always getting that kind of content that you want. So I put up 3 different subscriptions forms. You're going to hear us start moving into talking about blogs a lot and communities and discussion threads. And that's all kind of modern day association technology for communication. And that's different than using the word, as a matter of fact, it's hard for me to even say blast email, like my knuckles turn white, I kind of head twitch, which is something that it would be on the deprecated list of marketing of a not things you really want to do. So right now, the Advanced Practice Center, if you go to apc.naifa.org, not only can you register for the Dallas event, but you can also subscribe to the Advanced Practice Center. This allows us to start curating content, using that word specifically, pulling content across from guess who, our sponsors, our partners, et cetera, as well as our Advisor Today content from NAIFA blog, content that we can bring in from different members, et cetera, and putting together really great articles, really great materials, and continuously feeding those people who are interested in advanced practice. Likewise, the Limited and Extended Care Planning Center is predicated on new resources coming out that you're constantly getting in. It's still an email, but it's an email specific and it's automated, and you get to choose when you want to get it. Do you want it weekly, monthly, daily, instant, et cetera? So it's really personally driven. And again, you get to pick into, in the world of NAIFA, what you really are interested in. P+P is the same way. So we're going to automatically subscribe people who have registered to go to P+P, as well as people who have gone in the last couple of years, because that way we can continuously get in front of them specifically about P+P. And guess what? That gives a better opportunity to talk in more depth with our sponsors, with our speakers, with our exhibitors, with people that are volunteers. We want to do a lot of volunteer recognition this year at P+P. There's a lot of goodies in it for you if you volunteer. And we want to make sure that we're really building, again, a following about the need to come to P+P each year, but giving more expanded space to really highlight and get to know our exhibitors. So you can have a feeling of who they are. We can do spotlights, same thing with our sponsors, et cetera. So it makes for a more meaningful experience once you actually come on site than coming in and you're like, you have your mobile app and you're just trying to find out what you're doing, and you don't have the same sense. If you could get to know your speaker ahead of time, if you could, have a video from them, a webinar, a tweet chat, when you get in person, it changes the conversation, right? You're not starting from square one. You really have the rapport. Guess what? Modern day advisors, what do you think they're doing in order to develop new clients? This exact thing. So the more we can get to know each other digitally, as a matter of fact, I saw a statistic about a week ago, and it's something like it's more than 50%. I want to say it was like 52% of all marriages now in the United States start on digital. It starts on online. So that's more, the majority is starting not person to person. So we're getting to know each other on digital. We're getting to get a sense of the person, and then we're converting that into how we actually want to interact. It drives demand to be in person. So we want to use that exact technique. So there's a couple things to know you can sign up for that are out there. Again, you're going to see stuff in the promo kit, because what a great banner ad to say, hey, interested in advanced practices, sign up for the blog. Okay, so a couple things there, new opportunities. Another new opportunity, we talked about NAIFA Live a lot. There's a new microsite coming out. We've had just NAIFA Live one page at a time. A lot of people have asked us, hey, how do we get to the on-demand archives? How do we see the master calendar? How can we find out about having a watch party? What about sponsorships? Well, we have a new microsite that's coming out. It's live.naifa.org, and it will have all of this in here. We're building it out, but you hear it first here. And again, can't iterate enough. We want to really build out these watch parties and really say, how do we use this as the new monthly format? Right? So how do we take the combination of us being somewhere, watching NAIFA Live together, then doing a case study together, then having our business meeting, et cetera, or having it ahead of time or after, a lunch, a not lunch, a cocktail hour, not cocktail hour, whatever it might be. But that makes for a really interesting mix and all sorts of new opportunities for how you want to design your actual either in-person meeting, or maybe you want to do it virtually. And there's another way you want to do that. We have the technology to do it. So all sorts of possible ways to do that, okay? And the last piece here about new opportunities for Q3, and this is more of a heads up. We talked about your membership a lot, and this is just a heads up to say that as we continue to do this, as we move forward, and we've been doing blast email, but now we're differentiating, we're probably going to start pulling off of that blast email because it's just not as effective. But what is effective is moving us into a more regular, more real-time communication. So within your membership, there's really real-time groups and communities. So I can post and I would get updated automatically, just like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, etc. So moving to the world of talking about website and email to working to a world that's talking about feeds and posts and likes, etc. Okay, and you're seeing kind of a snapshot view of it's in draft mode, but really what the new members only will look like as we move toward that, and that's on the docket to do this summer. So just a heads up, but we're moving into more real-time communication, measuring everything, having something where we're sharing. This will allow us to have things like leaderboards, so we can see how many agency presentations, who's got lapsed members, who's grown the most. All of those things allow us to have one centralized place where we can see the growth and we can experience it and celebrate it together and share and compare. Okay, and so those are just a couple of things there. Okay, we're ready to wrap up. Before we do that and we do our calls to action, I know we have a couple of questions. So actually, Dennis, if you would, I'm going to ask you to come up here. This one question in particular is about kind of the agency presentation and the dues. So I'm going to ask Zach, would you mind reading off the questions?
Sure thing. So our first question is, what corporations, organizations would use NAFA.org/grow for $40 a month dues?
When you do an agency presentation, at that presentation, the slideshow will bring you to the final slide that will have NAFA.org/grow. That would be a $40 a month rate. That rate will jump to $56 in the 13th month. If they wait till the next day, they would be forced to use the NAFA.org/join website, which is $56. Sometime, probably in the fourth quarter, we'll be able to roll out a specific website for that actual event you're holding. So it could be California 123 that will bring you to a $40 page. Then you'd use the /join for the $56. Does that answer the question? Say yes on the computer, please.
While we're waiting for that, our next question is, yes, did. The next question is, where do we report agency presentations?
That was sent out to all leaders in an email yesterday. I don't have the link.
We'll add it to the leadership page.
We'll add it to the next leadership page. So all leaders received it yesterday. So if you go to solutions.nafa.org/leadership, those will be added to that page as well.
Are they asking because they've done some? Did they have
And did you do any? You'll get $50.
Fantastic.
That's all we got for
That's all we got.
Okay.
Okay.
Great, thank you all.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Dennis. All right. Also, Dennis, honestly, Dennis is if you ask Dennis, hey, Dennis, can you help us? Dennis is going to say yes. He's like,
I'm not giving you my phone number.
no mobile numbers are going out. All right, so we're wrapping up today. We know we jam pack a lot in here, and this is drinking from a fire hose, but we also know here's the pace of change and we can do it, right? Together we can take on anything. So Q3 wrapping up what we need to accomplish. So here's the calls to action. So goals, we're just gonna repeat the same goals we had in Q2. As Dennis says to me, we talk a lot of football terms between Dennis and I on a daily basis, and it's go back to the, run the dang play, right? So come on, Earl, run the dang play. So we've talked to everybody. If you can think of some reason that's blocking you, of what you don't have from a tool standpoint of what you need to do the agency presentations, let us know. I do know that for many of you, Michelle has told me that she's going to send you by the end of the week the Gamma list. So other lists are coming your way, more data is coming your way, but you have at this point an updated PowerPoint slide. You've got the membership pins, the membership brochures. There are the Take 3 video. You should have everything you need, recordings of Dennis doing this. If you can think of other things that will improve the program, please let us know and we'll get it done. But the answer there would be, it's time to execute. So let's run the play. So 2 agency presentations per state, 1 per local. Now we have a place to report it, and we've given you an incentive to do it. So let's get those touchdowns in there. And then the second piece would be let's really take time on the promo kits and figure out how we're going to get all of these mainstay products and programs out there into your own, digital space, whether that's on your Facebook page, Instagram, your website, your newsletters, etc. Let's make sure that we have presence for Limited Extended Care Planning Center, Level Up, Performance Plus Purpose, LACP, etc. Okay, so we'll give a list of those, but those will be what we need to make sure that we're all talking about the same way. Again, with my Big Mac example, right? Time to run the 2 for special of Big Mac. If you've got people that you're talking to in the IMO, FMO, BGA world, please introduce us. That's where we're trying to really explore. We'd love to do that together. And finally, again, just another one, if we can get your help to push the new Level Up program, and again, get either butts and seats in Dallas or again, virtually for August 22nd and make that out of the gate a success, that would be phenomenal. And then again, we're gonna have this in Charlotte looking like the first week of October. We're gonna do it, we're trying to do it together with NAFA North Carolina's annual meeting, because that makes sense. And then also, reminder on Performance with Purpose, it's going to be an amazing one this year. They're just getting better and better. And we're going to have a whole news center in there for us to talk about how we can, again, differentiate everyone. We've got great tracks. We've got some top-notch speakers. The committee has just knocked it out of the ballpark, and we would love to see you guys help us, again, to drive more people to Performance Plus Purpose. Last little nugget on that one, just a reminder, it's not open yet. As we get closer, one of those sessions of the Big Ideas will also be September's NAPA Live. So if you haven't planned a watch party location, that might be the one you want to hit. Make sure you've got that teed up for September, because that's going to be very cool. We're going to be live streaming from main stage, right? And you'll get kind of the benefit of being from the conference, and it's NAPA Live, right? And it's Danny O'Connell. And I think that'll be something that will just kind of delight either current members, and also prospects. Okay. With that, do we have any more questions, Zach?
Nope.
All right. Onwards, everybody. Let's go grow. Thanks so much.